First of all, thank you very much for being here. This is the first webinar jointly organized by EPSI, European Platform for Sport Innovation, and Eurisi. So today we are going to explore the different dimensions of aerospace technologies and entertainment in the field of sport. We will have with us several speakers, of course. And we will also explore some funding opportunities, and most notably the one provided by European Space Agency. So maybe we can I can briefly introduce EPSI before giving the floor to Eurisi and to Annalisa, that will also guide us through the context and the agenda of this webinar. First of all, I'm Sebastiano Lommi. I'm EPSI Junior Director, and here EPSI is represented by Alberto, the big boss of EPSI, and also by Valentina, our communication manager. So Alberto, I don't know if you want maybe to introduce yourself also, or
I mean, very briefly, thank you, Seba. Good afternoon to all. We have this ongoing partnership with Eurisi, and we're very happy about this partnership. And of course, I mean, as EPSI, we are driving our members towards dedicated funding schemes. Of course, space and notably the European Space Agency, they also have some specific funding schemes for sports. So we're very, very happy about this. Of course, Antonio is with us. Thank you, Antonio. And so I guess that ultimately this is it. I wish this webinar to be very fruitful, and I like interaction. So please do not hesitate 1 second to really raise your hand and ask questions, because I think that the more inquisitive you are, the better it will be also for you. So the more questions you have, we will be able to answer them. But this is it. Seba, thank you very much. And of course, very happy to see so many faces around the table. Thank you, Seba.
Thank you, Alberto. I will be very, very brief. Alberto has already mentioned some of the things that we do here at EPSI, but maybe I can also expand very briefly on our activities. I'm going just very quickly to share my screen, 1 minute, not more, promise. So EPSI is the European Platform for Sport Innovation. We are a network of sport-related entities, both from the private and public sector, located here in Brussels. We have more than 150 members from all over Europe, basically from 29 European countries. So we represent really the broad sport ecosystem, from the municipalities to the sport organization, the companies, the businesses, the universities, and basically all the entities that are related to sport. And for our members, we do mostly 3 things. On one side, lobbying and education, meaning that we represent them here in Brussels. We advocate for more recognition of the importance of sport, and ultimately, we would like to have more money invested in the sport ecosystem. Second, and one of the most relevant pillars that we have, is the fundraising. So we help our members in securing funds, European funds, but also funds coming from other sources, such as the ESA ones that we are going to talk about today. And we do it really on the basis of the project ideas of our member. So they can come to us with their project ideas. We help them in putting together a nice and solid partnership. We identify the funding schemes, and we really support them throughout the whole process of project creation. And last but not least, we also do business creation, meaning that we try to create business opportunities for our members vis-a-vis other EPSI members, but also trying to find private investors or customers, or in general supporting them in developing and growing their business. We do all these different things within our network, but also beyond our network. We have established a number of collaboration agreements, such as the one with Eurisi and ESA, that basically is the reason why we are here today. So very synthetically, this is what we do. I don't want to steal too much of your time because I know that it's precious and it's also Friday afternoon. So maybe I'd like to give the floor to Annalisa to introduce Eurisi and also the agenda webinar.
Thank you very much, Sebastiano. I hope that everybody can hear me. I want to also echo what has been said by Alberto, and I'm glad we managed to establish this partnership. We are here today representing more the space component of what we're going to delve into during this 1 hour webinar. I also want to thank all the people that connected today, curious to understand a little bit more how this basically intersection between space and sport is happening. And I will basically briefly introduce Eurisi. You can see we are gathering also the European Union Agency for the Space Program rather than EUMETSAT and many other space agencies across Europe. Our mission that derives from the wish of those members is to bridge the gap between space and society. And in this activity of bridging the gap, we are indeed identifying some thematic areas. So sport is one of those, and Eurisi has been working on the field of highlighting the benefit of satellite application for sport since many years. How do we do this? How do we try to bridge this gap? Is mostly following three main pillars of activities. The first one, which is awareness raising campaign, and the webinar that we're doing here today is part of this those activities of awareness raising. The second one, it's matchmaking, and indeed, like we do many events, which we use as platform to bring together users communities and service providers, research centers, rather than any other potential interested partner and advisor. Of course, we work a lot with end users communities with who we try to understand the sectoral needs, and we bring back all this feedback to our space agencies to basically overcome the barriers to the final uptake of this kind of solution. As we know, especially for those working in the space sectors, satellite data can indeed optimize many final solutions. At the same time, this is not necessarily the case for end users communities. That's why these activities of awareness raising are still so key and relevant also in our sector.
The Tokyo Olympics were the first to be broadcasted, and the Telstar 1 was the first satellite to showcase and which allowed this first broadcasting. So it was really an innovative and an incredibly interesting and innovation which really led to this new access to entertainment worldwide, as I said. And the Tokyo Olympics were the first arena to which this communication was enabled. So the Telstar 1 satellite was incredibly then impactful also in the whole history of the sport, we can say, sector, because in 1970, the official World Cup of Mexico designed this new football, which was designed based on the shape, we could say, and on the design of the Telstar 1, almost to, we could say, celebrating this great success of what the Telstar was for the broadcast of satellite communication. So today we almost came to accept as a common and normal thing that we can access live sports and live broadcasts of sports events daily. But of course, we can see how this, we could say, transformation has really started in the past years. And today, of course, it will be also interesting to see even more how the innovations which are brought from the latest technologies will then impact the new games, and especially the new Paris Olympics in 2024, which are going to introduce a whole new set of technologies, from the latest 5G technologies to 8K live stream experiences, which will of course enhance even more the entertainment experience of the spectators during the views and the experience of the sport events. So of course, the enabling and enable of the satellite and the space data will be incredibly impactful also for the near future. And I guess as we all very interested and excited to see how and what the Paris Olympics will brought to to this new entertainment experience. So with this, I leave the floor to our speakers. As introduced before, we'll have 3 speakers who will introduce a bit more their activities and of course the funding opportunities. So I'm gonna now leave the floor to our first speaker, Adrian Geisler, who will explain a bit more about Able Active.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this webinar. So my name is Adrian Geisler. My company is Space4Sports Systems, and I will talk a little bit about Able Active today. I should qualify this, and I know the theme is satellite and entertainment, and satellite technology and entertainment. I'm going to reinterpret entertainment a little bit into recreation, or maybe with the German interpretation of flight side. So with that in mind, just a very brief introduction around Able Active. So Able Active is a mobile application and of course a cloud-based platform to find trails and amenities near you, guided by detailed information with real-time and peer provided or peer accessibility ratings, allowing you to enjoy nature with your friends and family. There's a bit more to it, and I'll reveal that during the presentation. So by means of background and collaboration, we responded to a call by the European Space Agency, ESA, last year as part of their Kickstart program. Obviously, that was on the theme of sport and a speciality or a particular focus on accessibility and inclusivity. So this was a 6-month program, and we completed that earlier this year. So motivation behind the Able Active project. So when we think of disability, we naturally think of the wheelchair. Right? It's painted on the streets and in parking spaces. It has become a very visible symbol of disability, but of course it itself introduces a strong bias. When we think of disabilities, we should also think beyond the wheelchair band. Of course, we have wheelchair and we've got mobility impairment, right, which are not quite the same. We also have deaf and blind, we have intellectual disability, we have autism, which has a different impact on how people engage with the environment and the world. So our approach was to look at the invisible disabilities in particular, and maybe the less visible in terms of public awareness and public focus. Second part of motivation is that disabilities are a reality. You know, so these are not small niche communities. The last census in Ireland in 2022 indicated that about 1 in 5 people identified with a disability, not always a permanent disability, but certainly at that point of census, about 1/5 of the population had a disability. And of course, when we look at it broader, European society is constantly aiming to be more inclusive and more accessible, and a lot of the public institutions have a mandate to assure and ensure accessibility and inclusivity. So this has been going around our head for a while. I should say that in Space4Sports, we've been working on long-term participation. We've a strong track record of many different capabilities that fitted very well with these objectives. So the innovation that we presented and figured was different and needed a different approach was to integrate space-based technologies, in particular navigation systems, to help this community of users. So there's one use case in particular that stands out in my mind, which is that there were 2 parents with children with autism who were involved in organizing trips, particularly into forests, for other families. So the work pattern that they adopted was that one of these two mothers would go out midweek and walk a trail that they thought was suitable. And then if they thought it was suitable, they would come back with their own child and they would start seeing the trail through their child's eyes. And then if it still passed, they would then organize an activity, an outing with the social group, and they would do so by handwritten notes and maybe a photocopy or a download of a map, but not a formal trail and certainly not a route within that trail. And we thought this happens, and this happens quite a bit. So the ability to use and reuse and record trails was a key part of what we do. So we know that every jurisdiction has public trails that are standard, official, normalized trails. But what people walk is maybe a subset or a variant or something that loops in and out of the trail. So we thought this was important. So the idea was that users can plan and record using an official trail or their own trail or any hybrid thereof. We also looked at this as a way of generating user-supplied data sets. So a lot of information comes from, again, centralized sources, maybe some specialist experts, but let's see what the users also can contribute to the solution. And then we have plenty of other opportunities to look at how we can use and reuse the user's real-time location. So turning this into what we can do, right? So I mentioned that we look at this in terms of many specific disabilities. For each disability, right, we can categorize the accessibility of a trail, let's stay with that as an example, as rated by the user. So we're familiar with the data model, we're familiar with the operating model, but nobody has chosen to do this around formally measuring and monitoring accessibility. In a way, this is quite democratic. It is by users, for users in the primary case. So the idea is that our users have, as part of our research, they reinforce this thinking, which is to, what is important to them is to know how other people like them feel or reacted to a particular scenario. So just because somebody who is mobility impaired found a trail unfavorable does not mean it is unfavorable to other users or in the double positive. But the information that we collect is also of high value to the operator of the amenity. So if the operator of the amenity has invested in accessibility of that amenity, of the trail or of the facility or of the building, then of course they would like to hear how accessible it is from their users. And again, this is sometimes a positive reinforcement, or sometimes it is opportunity for feedback that is opportunity for improvement. So, you know, I don't view this as being good or bad. I view this as being information that users can act on and make informed decisions. When we look at this, the same information, then again, from a different perspective, we can support, again, the business case perhaps, or the impact analysis around planning and investment, again, in the area of accessibility for an inclusive environment. And that for us is a service that we will offer at municipal level or at regional and national government level, or maybe even European level, who knows. So there's some other interesting value adds which may be relevant. Again, we look at this, you know, where space intersects with what we do. We use the user's current location to provide a sort order preference so that the results are sorted in a proximity basis. In other words, if I'm looking at something, I want to see what's near me now. Of course, users can move to another location, but it's a good starting point. We naturally have integrated in with weather services. We show the daylight, which is also location specific. And if they are in a coastal location, we can also show the tide, present or predicted tides. Our app, the Able Active app, of course, is available for Android and iPhone, but it facilitates both public anonymous user access. But if the user chooses to create an account, they have greater value. They can schedule ahead of time. They can connect with friends and family. They can register for events and do all kinds of positive and interesting things. So where are we at? Able Active is live. It's available for download in Ireland. It's actually available for download across Europe, but the data sets are currently in Ireland. And we are looking at expanding the geographic reach, and certainly always open to introductions and partnerships in that regard. So we completed the project in March. We're getting good downloads and user activations. We're building relationships with groups of users. So this is an interesting one. We just connected with the Spinal Injuries Ireland. They have a requirement to know more about the accessibility of gyms and swimming pools for their members. and they found it very challenging to collect this data. And then we spoke, and we can facilitate this through the app in the same way that hopefully I'm not embarrassing anyone from Ireland, but we have limited data on the location of disabled parking spaces, especially outside of urban areas. So again, rather than complaining and waiting for this to happen elsewhere, we facilitate the users generating this data set. Of course, we will validate that humanly, but at least the users can contribute and be part of the community activity. And while the app has been live for a while, we're gearing for a formal launch in towards mid to late June, depends. So that's a brief introduction of Able Active. For me, there's a thank you, of course, to the European Space Agency. It's as represented by Antonio, and Antonio and I have spoken a number of times over the last 6 months, 8 months. But also thank you from me to Eurysi for the opportunity to present here. And of course, if anyone would like to connect with me, I'm easily found on LinkedIn. And the mantra that we at Passport work to, and that certainly is very core to my heart, is that the lifelong involvement of sporting activity is key to physical, mental, and social well-being. And I think social, sometimes we forget, is not just about us in society, but it's also society as a whole. So on that note, I will stop my share and hand back to I don't know who's moderating. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Very interesting, I would say so, and also very curious to know how things will progress. So I don't know if at this stage any of the attendees has a question for you, Adrian. If so, please feel free to either intervene in the webinar or maybe write in the chat box. Perhaps I have a small question for you. So you have in the meantime, so while people get ready. So you have mentioned indeed that you have plan to expand the reach of Able Active activities to other European countries. Maybe do you already have also kind of strategy for this? Do you have any specific plan? I know that indeed the ESA grant is a Kickstart grant. So the purpose is really to allow the project to take off, and then what are from a more, let's say, operational perspective the expansion plan that you have?
So the detail of the plan is yet the plan. The principle is that while we would be very interested in partnering with a suitably sized organization that can bring us to a large number of users, the practical implications of that is that we start working with the available open data sets that are present. So in Ireland, Sport Ireland have assembled the Get Ireland Active database, which is quite deep, but it lists, say, national trails and trailheads and so on. And we also work with some of the municipalities in Ireland for more local trails. We integrate in with, again, open data from the Environmental Protection Agency, who are the guardians of our beaches and bathing areas, open water bathing areas. So we collect information from many different sources, and that is something that we would need to replicate in these other areas. So we have a strong contact at the moment in one European country who already have these data sets, and they're very keen to bring us or bring this to us, or bring us together. Maybe that's a better way. But given the audience here, maybe it's a conversation that if somebody would like to have, then again, just connect with me and we'll do something offline. But if something suitable comes along, I'm aware of the funding opportunities that exist within ESA and also beyond. So it's exciting times.
I'm David Barbosa. I'm working for Trimaran. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today with you for this webinar, talking about entertainment in sports and sports technologies. In Trimaran, we have two activities. The first activity is visual effect for movies and series with a lot of 3D animation, but I'm not going to talk about this department. I'm personally in charge of the sport department of the company. We have a dedicated brand which is named G-Racing. We launched this brand in 2010 with the aim to try to make more understandable how to follow event where you cannot really see all the action. And this is where we started this project. Just to let you know about who we are, so we are the combination of a team of creative people, artists, and technical people with engineers specialized either on graphic system for TV or web interfaces for the web. Here you can have a quick overview of how the system works. We basically put some GPS devices on the athletes, which give us the possibility to know in real time their positioning during an event. Then we collect all those data through different communication means, can be 2G, 3G, 4G, radio, satellite, if it's in a sporting event in the middle of the desert without any connectivity. All the data are sent to our cloud, where we clean the data. We have kind of intelligence behind the system where we can predict even some data according to the past data that we received in the cloud. And then we have two different type of visualization. One for the digital, which is with a race viewer, the interactive race viewer, which is fully interactive and where the fans can decide to follow a specific athlete, for example, if you have a friend or if you have a favorite athlete. And we also have a G-Racing mobile application that you can download for iOS and Android, which is free, and where you can easily follow at any time a sporting event that we cover. And the last thing that we provide, it's more for the broadcast market, the TV broadcast market, with dedicated system, which is named the GeoBox, which is able to either provide 3D graphics in real time on TV or TV overlays with like scoring, speed information about the athletes, distance between them, and so on, but also augmented reality. So I'm gonna start with a first example, a concrete example of what we have achieved for the World Rally Championship and Canal+. Canal+ is a French TV broadcaster. It was for a car rally event, and in car racing, it's very difficult because for those events, when you're a spectator on TV, you cannot really understand who's leading the race because the cars, they don't start at the same time. So every 3 minutes, you have a car on the special stage, and it makes it a bit complex to understand. So we developed a specific rendering system using the GPS on board on the cars to virtualize completely in 3D the cars and try to compare the previous cars with the current car on the special stage. So in this picture, you have Latvala. Latvala is the real position of the car, and you can have Ogier, another pilot here, and Mikkelsen, which have probably already finished the special stage, and we are able to have their ghost representation and make the comparison with Latvala. I have a short video that I would like to show to you. So yeah, sorry. The sound. So the idea is that you can see that Ogier has already started and Prokop will start now, 3 minutes later on. And we provided to Canal+ two things, the virtual timing with the time gaps of between the cars, like if they are started at the same time. And we were able to refresh this information every second. And the 3D graphics with the ghost view and the comparison of Ogier to Prokop. So at the beginning of the stage, you can already tell that Ogier is way better than Prokop. And for the commentators, it was something very interesting to keep the audience interested. in the program. Because if you have to wait the intermediate timing or the finish time to know who is leading the race, it's quite boring. So just a quick video for you to understand how it looked like in live. I'm going to show you another example for another hard to follow event type of sports, which is sailing. In sailing, when you are watching an event on TV, it's very difficult without 3D graphics to know who's leading the race, or because you are missing many information like the wind direction, the trajectory of the other boats, and according to all of the environment, you cannot really understand. So I'm going to show you another example. It's the same principle. We have the GPS on every boat, and then we are able to do the 3D modeling of those boats and virtualize everything in 3D to make it more clear for the fans. So again, we have the 2D overlays with different kind of information. Can be the timing, can be the distance between the boats, can be individual information from the teams with their heading, their speed. So you can have two boats side by side, and you can say, okay, the second one is going to catch the first one or not, and it keeps your audience interested in the program. So this is for the 2D overlay part. And then you have the 3D, which is pretty good for sailing, because as it's hard to follow, it's also hard to cover when you are a TV producer, because you probably don't have enough camera to see everything, which is not the case when you are in a stadium, because in a stadium you can have all around the pitch cameras. In sailing, you probably have one helicopter and a few boats around for providing images. And with the 3D, you can do the connection, the link between the virtual and the real, and do that kind of transitions, and say, okay, now we go from fleet A to fleet B, which are taking different options, and explain why they are going on the left side or on the right side, because you have the wind direction which change or something like. So again, the idea here is to use the 3D graphics to bring more information, and also to be able to show virtual information in the virtual, like virtual line, to explain what's going on during the race. Another thing that I would like to show to you is augmented reality. In georacing, we are specialized in augmented reality in tough conditions. When we are using like this kind of geo-stabilized cameras on helicopters, but also on cable cams, it's all wireless, so not using any fiber. So it's really where we are experts. We need to manage with a lot of complexity in that kind of projects. And I'm going to show you an example for what we have achieved for the Route du Rhum. Here in this helicopter shot, you can see the starting line of the Route du Rhum. The Route du Rhum is an offshore sailing race. Okay, and they are starting a race of 1 month or 2 weeks, depending on your class. And we were highlighting the different sectors where the boats will have to stay for the start and the start line. So we were using a GPS device on this buoy, another one here, and the GPS device in the camera, and all the data received from the camera to put that kind of graphics. So now in action for the Vendée Globe, but it's not a problem, it's the same idea. So we can obviously put some branding and logos in the virtual, the augmented reality. But here you can see, you have the starting line. And for the Vendée Globe in 2020, it was very interesting because one boat crossed the starting line too early, this boat, and got penalized. So when you cross the line, immediately the commentator said that, okay, now you will take our 8 hours penalty, which is not very good at all when you start a race. Okay, so now the last thing that I would like to show you, here are other examples of augmented reality, but more in 3D. We could do exactly the same in a stadium, but the idea is to use the geolocation to put something virtual in the real environment. The last thing that I would like to show to you is our application for the digital. It's the same idea now in this image that you can see. It's for a dog meshing series. Dog meshing is very difficult to follow because it's in the middle of nowhere where you don't have any connectivity, where they start a race of 10 days in very, very tough conditions. And all the measures were equipped with the specific tracker using satellite transmission and reporting their position every 2 or 5 minutes. I do not remember exactly during the race. And the fans in the web application or the website, sorry, of the event, or in the mobile application of the event, were able to follow interactively the race. So I'm gonna show you how it looks like briefly. Yeah, okay, so I can play. It's accessible in live and in replay, of course, so you can replay the race. You have many statistics from the measures, so you can decide to switch from one measure to another one. Sorry, I cannot use the button here. Why? Okay. I have a bar in my screen. I'm sorry, I cannot use it properly. I don't know why. Okay. But normally I can display the elevation and other information on screen. I can decide to select some favorites if it's very useful when you follow a 10-day race. You can go on your favorites, and yeah, it's fully interactive. You have the speed. You have normally a statistics section where you can have all the stats with the time that they spent for every checkpoint, the running time, the resting time, because they sleep on the trail. And this is very important also for safety, because the event is monitoring the position of the measures live during the event. And in case of any emergency, they can press a button and they send someone to rescue them. Okay, so can you still see my screen? The last thing, okay, so as you probably understood, we work for different kind of clients. We work for TV broadcasters, for event organizers, federations, sponsors, clubs, and leagues. We are mainly involved in fan experience, not in sports performance. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity to present our company today to the audience.
Thank you very much, David. Very, very interesting. Maybe also in light of the time, I would like just very quickly to ask to our audience if they have any question for you.
So I do have a question actually for David. David, at the very beginning of your presentation, you mentioned that every car or boat, or let's say even person in the last case is equipped with GNSS data receiver, I guess. But is this something that your company is providing to the race, to the competition, or are you using, let's say, available data from other sources?
Yeah, well, it depends. We have some equipment here at the office to rent them to the event organizers. We have equipment using 4G, radio transmission, and satellite. Sometimes when we do only the application side, we are able to be connected to an existing API, get the data, and use them on here on TV. Just to let you know, in the G-Racing platform, it's an open platform, so we can connect a lot of devices, not only GPS trackers, might be other kind of sensors for glucose, for example, or for any other kind of data we can ingest data coming from official timers, which are not using GPS for that, and many different kind of data. And sometimes we rent, sometimes we use the existing data. To be honest with you, it's quite difficult to have the equipment ready for all the kind of sports that we cover, because each of them is very specific. With sometimes you need a big battery, for example, if it's a 15 days race. Sometimes you need something very light because it's a trail in the middle of the desert or an Ironman. So it's very difficult to cover all the needs of our clients. So we rely on a big network of partners and manufacturers of those equipments, and we rent their equipment to the event organizer when we need these devices. And specifically when it comes to a radio transmission system, which is quite expensive, and some of the devices, they can also have more or less a good precision. Some of them are very accurate with a very low latency and very expensive. Some of them are more standard with 1 meter to 5 meter of accuracy and cheaper. So according to the needs of our clients, and if it's a series of events, a world championship or something alike, or only a one-shot event for a small event, regional event, we have other devices to provide to them. And this is, today for us, it's a big challenge because we need to identify the best partners in the market to provide us the right equipment for the needs of our clients. So we all the time provide advices to our clients, and we give our recommendations about using this kind of data or another one, and the different constraints that we could have in using this kind of technology, even if it's cheaper. So sometimes we even say no, we are not going to use the data, and we're not going to use the because it's too cheap, it's not going to work. And we want to maintain high quality of services, and we are not here to lie to our clients. And sometimes we miss some opportunities because it's still expensive when you are in the middle of the desert, for example, and you pay per messages that you transmit to the cloud.
Well, hello everybody. So yeah, I'm the last one on a Friday, so it's always challenging. So yeah, I'm Antonio Rodenas from ESA, from the European Space Agency. So more concretely from business applications and space solutions that we call BUS. I'm also the sports working group manager. So I'll start with I'll explain a bit how you can work with us, the type of support that we provide, and then more concretely, given the topic today, so speak a bit more about the Space4 Olympics, Space for Olympic Games, call for proposals. So I'll start with who we are. So we are, ESA Space Solutions. You will also hear BUS. You will also hear business applications. It's all the same. We take pride now in being the largest space innovation network in the world. So it's a mouthful. So yeah, we are this go-to space, go-to place for great business involving space, like any day-to-day applications that use space. For that, we support European startups and SMEs, but then also companies from different sizes. And we provide funding, business and technical support. So I'll explain that in a bit more detail here. This is what we provide to companies, starting with zero equity funding, which is kind of what you want to hear from companies. From 50K to more than 2 million, we have no upper limit. We also provide a personalized ESA consultant that provides you with technical support, commercial guidance, and project management support, as well as access to our international network of end users, investors, but then also the ability to use the credibility of the ESA brand. So what do we do now with our funding? So we enable companies to create services or products that utilize space technology as part of that service. But then what is that space technology? So the main three space technologies that we use. You will also hear, well, downstream. So our Earth observation, so mostly, well, images, climate, different type of sensors, satellite navigation, which is the GNSS, GPS. So we've seen a couple of examples today, and satellite communications as well. We can also support services or products that utilize, well, space weather, but then also space flight technologies, so technologies that have been developed for space and then they are used for a different application on Earth. So using this type of data, then together with any other, let's say, Earth technology, so like big data, VR, AR, artificial intelligence, IoT, you name it, so that they create these services on different verticals on Earth. And also like this, so we have examples here, maritime, agriculture, or well, in this example today, in the sports sector. So we work two different ways. So we have a permanently open call for proposals, but then we also open from time to time thematic calls on the priorities that we discover and on the challenges that we discover engaging with end users. This is a good example for today, which is the Space4 Olympic Games call. So for this call, we have discussed with the stakeholders. In this case, so it's the Olympic Committee, so both for Paris, Milano Cortina, and different federations like the Italian Taekwondo Federation, some of the service providers for the Olympic Games, so like Atos or Swiss Timing. And then, for example, so we have EPSI and G6, so they have been particularly EPSI that is supporting us today. So engaging with end users and giving awareness of the call, and then helping also some companies applying the call as well. So what we do is discuss with these end users and understand what are some use cases that they need to cover for companies to apply and to use space data, not to create those services. So we can see some examples here, but I really don't want to go in detail because you can find all of this in our website. But those cover like the smart management of the event, so like the crowds, external conditions, weather, also engagement with the fans. So how can we make this more engaging, sharing the Olympic values, but also on the athletes itself, like on the athlete themselves, like how can we do with the training, the performance monitoring, etc. Also, key aspects is sustainability, so that these are all coming up from the Olympic Committee. So how can we make the infrastructure more sustainable? So both in the planning, the construction, but also the use after the event itself. Also have from the other stakeholders, so from Atos, like how can we track the environment, climate applications, air quality, emissions, and also the updating on information, and similarly with the Taekwondo Federation, and for example, with Swiss Timing, so more on the connectivity. So how can we connect to remote areas, but also track different events, further engaging with the fans, which are not like the ones that are the most important here. And for example, in this 3D map generation animations only following the event. So here, it's just how we have, let's say, works with the end users, how these satellite technologies can provide a service here, but these are just examples. Satellite communication, enhancing this communication using IoT devices, but also in remote locations in which, for example, there are no other means of connecting. On the Earth observation, which is monitoring, like doing pre, during, and post studies of the locations, but also on the environment, on the sustainability and on the environment characteristics. Same with GNSS, like geolocation of vehicles, routing, like different supply chain, but then also the following of the different athletes during the training and during competitions. Same as different technologies that have been developed, let's say, like health sensors, innovative textiles, you name it. In the end, it's not like I think industry is smarter than us, and then you can come up with any different examples on this. So in order to find information, so you can find it on our website on business.isa.int. And just to say, so this opportunity, so it's a direct negotiation, and depending on the maturity of what you are providing, so this can fit within a feasibility study and a demonstration project. But again, you can find like all the information there, as I only have 10 minutes. In terms of the roadmap, this is a bit the process for applying, but then it starts with an activity pitch questionnaire. So this is really similar to an investor pitch. It's 7-8 pages in which you need to describe so what you want to do, how you want to do it, like what's the market, what are the users, etc. And yeah, here's some examples of in the sports of activities we have supported, but I won't dwell too much on this because I want to cover also the Kickstarter activities. So, well, we cover golf on FatMap that was also acquired by Strava, like bike cycling application, swimming, you name it. But then I thought it was also important today, so covering on the Kickstart, and it's good having Adrian today, because they went through the program, and I think it's a good introduction of how we can support companies. So this Kickstart is different than the Olympics call, but this is a type of feasibility study that is meant for small companies, for SMEs, or either bigger companies that they want to quickly test a new idea. So these are 6-month duration activities. We provide 60K with 75% co-funding, which is 80K total costs. And yeah, we have an open call for proposals in which you can provide, let's say, you can propose any different activity that you want. But yeah, Adrian can probably provide more information about how it went. And just to quickly cover what we're doing here, just to say it's not purely a technical development. So we cover 3 main verticals, which is the engagement with the end users and with the customers, understand what are their needs and how this can be translated into the service and system requirements. Then the technical feasibility of this system service requirements and defining a system architecture, and then evaluation of the economic viability of the service and develop a business plan that then can be further developed, in which you can attract more investment. But then you can also apply for a demonstration project with us if you can provide a confirmed business case here. So I think I've done roughly 10 minutes. It's okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, of course, yeah, I'm here.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Very interesting as always. So maybe I have a small question for you. So we have talked about indeed the Kickstart program because this is of course the one also that we are working the most also from an EPSI perspective, and we have seen the example of Adrian. Maybe something more about the long-term follow-up. So what is your approach to activities that maybe you have supported through the Kickstart program? Do you have also some follow-up activities to see that to see if those projects can bear long-term results, for instance? Is this something that you do at ISA to follow up on the different projects that you have assisted, let's say, in the very preliminary phase?
No, absolutely. No, that's actually is the aim of the program. So like of having a Kickstart is actually, it's not the outcome of the Kickstart itself, but it's actually evaluating if you can create a business around that idea, And during these 6 months. So it's quite quick, but I think it's quite iterative and entrepreneurial, because what you do is that it's like, okay, talk to the customers. What do they need? Can I create a service around that? What are the revenues that you can get? What is it going to cost you to provide that? And then actually at the end, so we have a checklist in which, okay, these are all the things that you should cover in order to move forward. No, and the idea is that if you tick on all the boxes, like that, then you can use this, you create this business plan. Then in the end, you can apply for a demonstration activity, you can attract funding, and the idea is to use this to then further develop the service, which is actually the aim of it. No, so yeah, I mean, we definitely follow up on absolutely everything, and we want to help companies to kind of overcome the Kickstart, so go from there to actually having, let's say, commercially sustainable services.